88% of you that have not subscribed, please consider doing so. Thank you.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. As you can see, I'm here at DNA HQ, and we've got my co-host there, AJ. He is remote today because we've got some exciting news to bring you, and we couldn't wait for the time for us to get together to film this in our usual setup here. So we just decided to hop on this and do it this way. So first of all, how's it going, AJ?
I'm doing good, man. I'm super excited about this Utah Jazz news.
Absolutely. So now, obviously, more than likely, people have probably heard about it by now. But why don't you go ahead and tell the fine folks why we're reaching out today?
Well, the Utah Jazz and the Atlanta Hawks agree to send John Collins to Utah in exchange for Rudy Gay and a future second-round pick.
Okay, great. So amazing news. First of all, I mean, Danny Ainge does it again. This is an awesome trade.
He just straight up stole John Collins from Atlanta. Is more like what it feels.
Yeah, very true. Again, Rudy Gay and a second-round pick, future second-round pick. We don't even know which round it is yet. There'll probably be more to come once this trade's actually made official, which won't be till July 6th, I think is when all trades are official.
When it actually opens.
Yeah. Okay. So this actually comes just a couple days ahead of free agency. So what's your first take on the trade? Are you excited? What do you think about this trade?
I mean, I think this is a little bit more, I've been watching the Bleacher Report feeds and, the ESPN feeds. And, I see a lot of Jazz fans super excited about this and for good reason. John Collins is a very promising young player. He was drafted in 2017. His first season there. He had some really, really strong seasons there. In 1920, he played in 41 games, averaged about 21 points a game, shooting 40% from three. That season there, this guy was looking like he was on the superstar track, right? He was just killing it, shooting lights out. He was a really efficient play, but his numbers from there have steadily come down. So he's a little bit more of a project than I think some people really realize. He needs to get some coaching and some confidence, which I think Will Hardy is the perfect candidate. I mean, look what we did with Lauri Markkanen in just one season. He went from a fringe bench player to obviously a Western Conference All-Star. So I think we've got the coaching staff to do it. I think it's going to be a great environment for John Collins. Adding him to the Jazz roster is going to help a ton. He's going to bring us a little bit more shooting. He's not a defensive-minded player at all. He's got some highlight blocks and stuff, but for the most part, he's not known as a super defensive player, but we've got a couple of those guys. I think this is a fantastic pickup for Utah, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely get into, what the future looks like for the Jazz here coming up in a second here, but let's talk about why did Atlanta make this trade?
I mean, the big reason they did this is they're just trying to dump salary. They owe him $78 million over the next 3 years. They were trying to get back underneath the luxury tax. That was pretty much needed at this point. So to dump his salary off, they get a $24 million traded player exception. And Utah had the salary cap, Utah had plenty of salary space. They take it on and, with only Rudy Gay's contract going out and then a future second, doesn't really affect Utah at all.
Yeah. So, excellent points. And again, it's the CBA that's rearing its ugly head here. The new changes to the CBA that's basically made this move necessary for the Atlanta Hawks. Right now, they were already over the luxury tax. So that's the first apron. The second apron, they were just shy of it. So with this trade, they avoid the second apron of the luxury tax, which would put them 15 million, I believe it's 15 or 17 million over the luxury tax threshold. So they were already pushing that. With this trade, that knocks them down. They do get that $25.3 million trade exception that gives Atlanta that flexibility that they need, and it actually puts Quinn Snyder back in his element of getting the most out of developing young talent. So I think it's a great move for Atlanta. This was actually something the Jazz have been trying to get done for well over a year now to bring John Collins in.
And the Hawks were asking much more last season, if you don't remember. I mean, they wanted first round picks and some young players. So to see him kind of dump them off is definitely a little bit surprising.
So anyway, I'm glad the Jazz made this trade. Let's go ahead and talk about why it's good for the Utah Jazz. Now, you did mention his steadily declined. His last year, he was averaging 13.1 points per game on 51% from the field and shooting an abysmal 29% from three. Career averages are 55% from the field and 35% from three. His career average is 16 points per game. Like you said, kind of a work in progress there.
Yeah, I mean, last season, with them having Trae Young, he's such a ball dominant player. He demands the ball to be in his hands to be super effective. And I think John Collins is kind of that same way. He's a big momentum player. You know, so if he doesn't have the ball in his hands and he's not getting an opportunity to score points or even be on the floor, he's just not going to be nearly as effective. He's going to have a huge opportunity with Utah, man, to revive his career. We are in a really good position to give him the minutes as long as he can get out there and earn them. And he can play along some really talented players that'll space the floor, give him the opportunity to take some open three-pointers and be just as effective as he was in that 1920 season.
Yeah, and that's a big point where I wanted to touch on was that 1920 season. Pretty much right around the time where they started having a lot of turmoil from the front office, started turning over head coaches a lot. It didn't really seem to have any cohesion as a team, so there's a lot of that going on right around the same time. Right around when Atlanta started playing Coach Carousel, that's right around when you saw John Collins' production drop. I also want to point out there that the 2019-2020 season, he was averaging 15 shot attempts a game. Now, over the last 2 seasons, that's dropped all the way down to just about 10 shots per game. I mean, he is at a lower efficiency, but he's also at a lower amounts attempts as well. If you look back at 2020, he's shooting almost 35% from three, closer to 40, actually, if I remember correctly.
And he's at 40% from three.
Yeah, 40%. Yeah. So and he was averaging 15 shots a game. So you take a third of your shots away, kind of seems like you're going to be putting yourself behind the 8 ball percentage wise anyway.
And I think one of the key stats to look at is that games played stat, man. Last year he played in 71 games. That's pretty impressive. I mean,
absolutely.
We're talking he only missed 11 games in the whole NBA season. He was out there. He's staying healthy. He's in good physical condition. And that's something that's really important to this Jazz team, especially since they're going to be trying to develop some younger talent. And, we got to have guys on the floor to be successable.
I also do want to point out, I don't know how much highlights have you watched, but if you watched the Trey and John pick and rolls that they ran,
I have.
This guy is amazing in the pick and roll. This guy
he can get up too. I mean, he is super athletic.
He can get for these lobs on these pick and rolls, these pick and pop threes that he's able to hit with the trailer leg and everything like that. He is going to be great in our Utah style of offense, which is the pick and roll offense. So I think that's going to be something to be really excited about. Now, this really kind of puts Kelly Olynyk in an odd spot.
Yeah, a little bit
where he really fits. But the front court now has Walker Kessler, John Collins, and Lauri Markkanen. And then you also have Colin Sexton and Ochai Agbaji. I think him probably might, because currently right now Jordan Clarkson, he hasn't, he can opt out,
right.
So we may or may not get him back. So that would leave either Agbaji or Chris Dunn, the starting point guard job, unless we want to bring in one of the rookies to run the point from the beginning of the season, which
bring in Keontae, man.
We'll see what happens there. But imagine just that front court right there along those lines. You don't necessarily need Collins. You don't really need John Collins to be the defensive leader on the team when you have that kind of size advantage already. Lauri Markkanen, that's Walker Kessler at the center, John Collins at 4, and Lauri Markkanen as your 3. That is a big front lineup, an athletic front lineup.
Absolutely. That's 3 great big guys, man. I mean, between Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen, those guys are both 7-footers. And I mean, John Collins not small. He's 6'9" with the 6'11" wingspan. So he's a pretty large dude as well. And I mean, that's not even considering, the draft picks we just picked up in Taylor Hendricks. So
we've got way too many Collins on this team. We have 2 people with Collins, in their name.
It's getting weird.
Yeah. One of them's got to go. When we had 2 Rudies on the team, we traded one of them. So, we'll probably
now we've traded both of them.
Yeah. So there you go.
We're done with Rudies, period.
So I think the average 10 shots per game, probably something we're not going to see. I think that you're going to see that go up. I think you're going to see his points per game go back up and to where he's averaging around. I think he still has the possibility to be a 20 points per game type player, 21-8, 21-7 type player. So
I hope that John Collins comes in and is doing exactly what everybody's hoping he's going to do. He comes in playing to prove that he still belongs in the NBA. With his production falling, people are definitely questioning whether he's really has the effort, whether he's still willing to give the effort to be a professional basketball player. I hope that he comes out and he proves that he wants to be here. This is his fresh start. His is a chance to really win another contract with any NBA team. I think this is the perfect spot for him. I mean, really, this is a great hookup for him to get an opportunity to redeem his career. He's got a great young coaching staff that's going to listen to what he wants to do. That's going to do everything to put him in a position to be successful.
I can't agree with you more. And I'm really excited about it because I think, you're definitely going to see him perform much better in a Jazz uniform than he's played ever in a Hawks uniform. That's for sure.
Go Jazz.
That's right. Once again, folks, my name is Darren. That is AJ, and this has been a special edition of the DNA Sports Recap.
Till next time.